Hey guys, and welcome to the 55th episode of the Yarn Junkie podcast. My name is Amber, and if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. If you're a new viewer, thank you for checking me out. I am coming to you from a little bit different of a location. If you are a returning viewer, you will have noticed that. I was recently watching the Little Tailoress podcast with Amy. And if you haven't checked her out, you should. I'm sure you have because everyone's been talking about her lately. But she is very entertaining, has a great aesthetic. She has a lot of content. Sewing, knitting, just go watch her right now. But she was recently mentioning how she loves when podcasters film in a different location. And I do too, because I love, like she said, looking at someone's home from a different angle. And I don't know why I didn't think to record from somewhere else before, probably because with a work-at-home spouse, it's hard to kind of navigate around his schedule. Luckily, he is out of town today at meetings, and I have the house to myself, so I thought I would set up here and record. And this is actually where a lot of mine and my girls' time is spent. I would say that my girls and I, who are 11 and 6, spend 90% of our time at this table crafting. So, welcome again. You can find me as Yarn Junkie on most social media. On Instagram, I am _Yarn Junkie. On Ravelry, I am Yarn Junkie with the number 6. And there is the Yarn Junkie podcast group. I don't do traditional show notes, but if there is ever anything that you want more information on, I'm diligent about my project page as well as getting back to you should you message me on Instagram or Ravelry. I will do my best to get back to you and link any information that you need. And I mean, what better way to communicate with my viewers? You know, if you just have show notes that you can click on, where's the fun in that? I want you to talk to me. No, I kid. So last time I didn't go over what I was wearing. This time I will try to do that. This is a hat that I crocheted for my late mother a few of her birthdays ago. My hair is going to be hat hair, but it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I do have a project page on this. It's the Peak hat, and I crocheted this using Madeline Tosh yarn in colorway Tart. And I mean, this worked up really fast, and it was a very enjoyable project, and I really liked the use of the buttons to kind of produce a bill. And I actually crocheted this while watching the True Blood series, and I found it so perfect to go with that. And my shawl that I'm wearing is a shawl that I made in 2015 for the Fawn Knits hosted a cozy shawl along, and I knit this shawl, which is the farmhouse shawl. And you'll have to forgive me, I don't know the pattern designer's name, but I knit this using Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in colorway Farmhouse, I don't remember the colorway. Long John. Farmhouse is the pattern. Pretty sure Long John is the colorway. It's just this really nice red color. And the fringe, I used a contrasting, and this was I used like 5 skeins on this project. So it worked up really quick as a worsted weight shawl. And this was only the second shawl I knit. So it was a lot of fun. But I am wearing that today, and I just wanted to talk about those right off the bat because I always forget. I have quite a show for you guys. I have quite a few FOs, some of which you've seen as whips, some of which you have not. So I will just jump right in. I'm going to take a quick sip because already I'm kind of croaky. I have had a head cold lately. I'm going to point out my mug right quick because I have to thank Marie from Cajun Crochet. She sent me an epic package, which I shared in my last podcast, some of the yarn that she had sent, but I didn't have this since I was outside recording. So I wanted to show it now. my little prickly before coffee mug, which was just the perfect thing for her to send. So my FOs, I have my finished January socks that I knit in February. I actually started these in January as Mercury socks, decided I did not like the yarn in that pattern, ripped them out, recast on just for some quickie ankle socks. And I was just watching Volan Vine, Yarngasm podcast. Kristen is the host of the annual Box of Socks Cow, and she mentioned how ankle socks don't fit the bill. So these don't count technically for my box of socks because they are 49 grams, not 50 grams, and they don't have a leg. They're just ribbing, and then I did a heel flap and gusset. I actually used the Eye of Partridge heel that is in the Hermione's Everyday pattern, which is also another free pattern, and then just a 3x1 rib, which I got this little recipe from Tracy of the Grocery Girls. She'd knit Georgia a pair of socks just like this, using a different yarn. And this first sock that I did has a bit of a Kitchener problem, but it also has quite a bit more laddering on the toe where I do my decreases. And so I posted a question to Instagram asking how to combat that. And y'all were so kind and recommended sizing down my needle, which I did, and I still do have a bit of laddering. I get that whether I use DPNs or Magic Loop. I don't understand it. I think it's just the way that I'm doing that decrease. I don't know. It does get a little bit worse as you wear them, but I haven't had a whole issue. It's not aesthetically pleasing to me. But that is a finished object. I am happy with them, and I really did enjoy this heavily speckled yarn. This is Vivid Yarn Studio in the colorway Bee Splat, which was a kit that she did with Jody and Miss Brown's bags. Miss Brown's bags had a Bee Splat bag, and then this yarn, which I have since sold my bag, and I kept the yarn. So here's what I had left over. As I said, my socks weighed 49 grams, and I have 40 grams left over. And I already have something in mind to make with this, so I'm quite happy that I have this much left over. Another FO that I have are my husband's socks. So I mentioned on my last podcast that I was doing a box of socks for my husband, and so many of you guys said that y'all would love to join along. I know that Barbara from the Knitting I Love podcast and Mara from the Simple Mara Crafting podcast both said that they would love to co-host with me, so thank you so much, ladies. I have created a thread in my group. This will be a year-long knit-along, and last time I said husband by default because that's what I have. But I created the hashtag Box of Socks Lover Edition. This is a box of socks for your lover, for your husband, for your boyfriend, for your girlfriend, for your wife, for your significant other, for whoever that person is in your life that you think is worthy of you gifting socks to. That's fine by me. I'm sorry that I said husband. I was just saying what I have. So I wasn't trying to be exclusive. So knit what you have and knit for the spouse that you have and join along, because I would love, love, love to have more people knitting their spouse socks. So I finished these up, and he did wear them one day, and then I washed them and I took them from him. Actually, the morning I finished them, I went and put them on his feet before he woke up. And so he woke up with new socks, and he was like, oh, I love these. And so after that, I washed them and took them away. And the other day, at the end of the day, he takes his socks off and shows me his feet. And he's wearing my dragon socks. So if you remember what prompted me to do this box of socks for him, is the fact that he wanted my Hey Holly Ho Hum Smogs Layered Sock Blank Dragon Socks. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, you can go back, I think 2 episodes if you want, or you can just hop on over to my Ravelry project page and scroll down and you'll see the socks. He loved those. The whole time I was knitting them, he really liked them and wanted them for himself, but I was knitting them for me. I am a Lord of the Rings fanatic, and I really loved that yarn. The other day, he shows me his feet, and he's wearing my socks. He went into my drawer and took out my socks and wore them on his Fred Flintstone feet all day long. I couldn't believe it. He thought I would be amused. I was not amused. I threw a fit. I was like, why would you wear my socks? Why would you take my socks? So we're about a 2 size foot difference. I have a very large woman's feet, and he has a somewhat small man's feet. So I wear a size 10, and he wears a size 10. But a woman's 10 is a man's 8. And I insist that, and he's like, no, you wear a 10, I wear a 10. We're the same size. We don't have the same size feet. But yeah, I had to share that with you guys. I told them he could keep the socks at this point, but that when he wears them out because they weren't knit for his feet or whatever, don't come crying to me, and that he also owes me a new sock blank. And he agreed, but we'll see. So another FO that I have, talked about the socks, yes, is my hat. So I have been watching a New to Me podcast. I've been subscribed to them for quite a while, but I've never taken the time to watch them because I have quite a few podcasts that I watch, and there's only so many hours in a day. But the Strings and More podcast, Shanna and Leslie, and they both have Etsy shops and yarn shops that you should totally check out. But I was watching their podcasts last week, and I was sick, so I binge watched like 8 episodes in 2 days or something. I had a head cold, so I was just knitting and barely surviving watching their podcast. So thanks so much for keeping me company, ladies. Hi, y'all. And they knit a lot of hats, y'all. They knit hats like Mina Phillip knits socks. I mean, they're like, here's a hat that I knit. Here's a hat that I knit. Wee, hat. So I was very inspired to cast on a hat. I'd gotten this book from the library, and I've checked it out and rechecked it out a few times because I keep saying, oh, I'm going to knit this hat in this book. And of course, y'all know me, and I'm like, oh, look, yarn, let's cast on a sock. But this is Knitted Beanies and Slouchy Hats, 31 Original Designs to Suit Your Style and Attitude by Diane Severus. And it is a 2014 publication, which surprised me. Yeah, copyright 2014. Because some of the hats just aren't, they just don't seem very modern. Like, oh yeah, let's be a woolly chef. But the hat that I really wanted to knit was this one, the Vermont Foliage. And I looked on Ravelry. Oh, I better cover that. There's, and it's not on Ravelry, which is kind of a bummer. But a lot of publications and magazines and books aren't on Ravelry. But anything that's nature inspired, I just love. And so I was very inspired to cast that on. So I did. And I finished it in like a day. I used Malabrigo Rios in colorway Vulcan, and it's a worsted weight yarn. And I've had this in my stash for quite a while. I originally bought it to crochet one of the Edwards animals, the orangutan. Isn't that a great orangutan color? And I never got around to it. I did knit my husband, I had 2 balls of this, and I knit my husband the seed stitch hat. I actually made that for me, but then he wanted it a couple months ago. Again, Ravelry project page. So I wanted a hat in that same colorway. I love, love, love this colorway. So I cast on for this hat. The pattern says just to use a size 6 or a 4 millimeter throughout, but I cast on using a size 4, and it just says knit 1 by 1 rib, but I went ahead and did a twisted rib because I thought that would match up with the rest of the stitches really nicely. make it pop more, if you will. And then I followed the pattern after that to the T. Knit with a size 6 and then switch to DPNs once I got to the decreases. I guess I could put it on. I'll put it on in just a second. But it was so easy. Again, I am very new to lace. I'm not a great lace knitter. It's kind of hard for me to pay attention at times, especially when I'm just with the kids home. Forget about it. I don't work on lace when the kids are home. You miss the yarn over and you can definitely tell. But this was very intuitive. You could clearly read your knitting. It was worsted weight, so it worked up super quickly. I've knit a lot of fingering, and I was just amazed. So I cast this on Monday morning of last week, but then I had errands, so I had to leave for like the whole day. And then Tuesday I had chores all day, but in between doing laundry and dishes and sweeping like you do, I was knitting this, taking little breaks here and there. And I had it cast off by the end of Tuesday night. It was fast. And again, I'm not a fast knitter. I was having to reference, the pattern, but I feel like this would be a great gift knit. I would buy the book for this pattern alone. I'm sure you could probably get it on Amazon for cheaply. I haven't looked, but check your half price books. It's a good pattern. And I'll put it on now. I want to knit another one. My hair is a mess. OMG, it is so cute. So the way it is, I don't know why it's on her so funny, like on the back of her head, and it's like all poofed out. I did wash it and just lay it flat to block. So I washed it using Tough Woolens because that's the wool wash that I have. And I really, really love how it turned out. I am definitely glad that I sized down the needle on the brim. I feel like it would have been too loose had I not otherwise done that. But it's perfect. Yeah. I can't wait to fall so I can wear it. The girls were like, it's spring, Mom. You're kind of out of season on your knitting. That's okay, girls. Mom doesn't mind. And so my hat weighed 73 grams and my leftover ball weighed 29 grams, in case you were curious about that. I'm going to stop it right here, but I do have a few more FOs. I just like to break it up, so easy upload. Be right back. So the next few FOs that I have, you also did not see as whips, but I had a head cold, like I mentioned, and I was just sort of moping around in bed for a couple of days and didn't really want to knit anything that took any focus because my head hurt. But I think I saw these originally. If I'm not mistaken, this was the pattern that Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast used a few months ago. But if it wasn't, I was inspired by my mug and also that podcast to knit some succulents. And this pattern is the 3-Way Cacti by Lucille Randall. And again, I have a project page for it, so you can easily go find it and click it. But look at these, you guys. So I didn't follow the pattern to the T on this one, and I kind of kicking myself for it. I knit it a few rows shorter than it called for, and it says to use a worsted weight paired with a mohair, but I didn't have a mohair. I just had this sport weight Blue Sky alpacas. It's 100% alpaca, and it's it's not showing up very well. Ochre color, like a chartreuse. There we go. Very cute green. And I just crocheted a little flower with some scraps of a mini. It literally takes the teeniest amount of yarn to make that little crocheted flower. And the next one that I did this one first, and my husband was like, okay, I guess it's a cool pin cushion, but it's kind of weird. And then a few days later, there was this one. And then he goes, oh wow, now there's two. So this one I knit using this Collage Fibers yarn, and this is a alpaca silk yarn with a stellina in it. And I originally bought this. I have a sweater's quantity of this to make a Christmas sweater with. And after I bought this, I knit a vest, or I crocheted a vest using a pure alpaca yarn, and it is the itchiest thing I've ever made in my life. And so I was kind of hesitant to cast on a whole sweater using alpaca yarn, but I'm curious if the silk content will make it to where it won't itch. This doesn't seem as itchy as the other, but again, I don't want to knit a whole sweater and then never wear it because it's itchy. But so I used that for this just because it's been sitting in the stash. I have a lot of green yarn, you guys. On getting out my stash to knit cacti, I've discovered that. But I really like how this turned out. Both of these are a 1x1 twisted rib. You just change what you cast on. I'm not giving anything away because, again, free pattern. What? And it's so quick and cute for gifts. Are you kidding? For a knitty friend or even a coworker? Like, I would make this for somebody, and I'm a selfish knitter. The last one that I knit is my favorite. Oh my God, are you kidding me? So this is a seed stitch or a moss stitch, a knit one, purl one. Purl the knits and knit the pearls. And you just do different shapes and sew them together. I mean, this was so easy. And then the little purple, these are just sat on their little terracotta pots. So the pattern has you cast on a certain number of stitches, and then just you're basically knitting a tube, and then you're cinching it together. You know, taking your darning needle and pulling the stitches closed and then sewing the bottom shut. So I think that I wish I would have used like a rock in the bottom of here before I sewed it shut so it would be more stable. I did put rocks in around this one to kind of stabilize it, and this one too is just like sat in his pot. But I sort of manipulated the bottom of this one to have, like, see, it's just flat. But I made his little feet sit. But this yarn and stitch pairing makes my heart sing. And moss stitch is one of my favorite things. I don't know why. I just want a whole cardigan in moss stitch. People don't like purling. Y'all are crazy. Moss stitch is my jam. And so this yarn is, we'll bring you into the little picture, guy, because you are just so beautiful. The Malabrigo Rios in colorway Indica. And it's just this variegated, cannot say words today again. Variegated green yarn. Not really variegated, I guess it's more tonal, but it's definitely got these like shots of purple in it. And I did little crocheted purple flowers on the ends of these. The, again, scraps of some minis that I had. It takes literally barely any yarn at all. So that brings me into my whips, because in order to knit this, I've had this yarn earmarked for a hat for quite a while. And after I got done with the foliage and knit it so fast, I was like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and cast on for this. I've been wanting a Babel hat since the winter before last, since winter 2015, when everyone was knitting them. It's a free pattern. I wanted to knit it, and I bought yarns, and they've been just sitting in the stash staring at me. So finally, when I was getting yarns out for my cacti, I saw this, and I was like, well, I don't know how much the cacti will, I don't know how much the Babel will use, so I have to knit that first of all the green before I take some for the cacti. So I cast on for the Babel and knit the Meadow, which is the bottom portion. So you do ribbing. The pattern calls for a 24 round ribbing. I did 30 because I just like that better. And then this section right here, these two rows, you're supposed to use the shade of the sheep, but I wanted to use this. I originally got this for the top of my hat to do like a sunset Babel, but I'd since decided maybe that didn't go so well together, but I thought, how cool would it be to just do like a little strand of flowers right there? So that's what my interpretation is. And I've started my sheep. And now I'm to where the sky is, and I'm kind of at a roadblock on what I'm going to do. Because I don't want to do your traditional light blue sky. I don't really like that. I don't wear a lot of blue, or that color blue anyway. I'm thinking about maybe a very dark blue, so it looks like a night, like a cobalt, like that. Would be really pretty. And I have my little sheep stitch marker from Nitty by Nature, because of course. And I have it all tucked into my Freckled Whimsy project bag. I bought this bag for my Babel like forever ago. I pre-ordered it when she was doing pre-orders, and I love this fabric so much. It makes me so happy, and it's so springtime to me. And it's a very nice like canvas material. And I bought this little sheep when I was at Stitches from the Lantern Moon booth, but I thought it was perfect with this. And all the yarns that I'm using are Malabrigo. This is black and natural, the color of sheep. And again, this is Archangel, but I don't think that I'm going to use it as the top. I think that I will knit another Vermont Foliage, maybe. I think that will be really, really, really pretty. But what do you think? Do you think that will look good as a sunset? I would hate to do a few rows and then tink back. I just don't want to do that. But maybe I will. I'm really curious to see if it will look like I imagined. But that is that project. I have not made a lot of progress on that. I don't enjoy Fair Isle, to be honest. That's a product knit for me. I want the hat, but I don't want to knit it. I have in this bag, my succulents bag from Lara of the Fawn Knits. She did a pre-order for these bags last year, and I got this in the yarn and love it and use it quite a bit. It's the perfect sock size sack. In this bag, I have my Succulents colorway by Volenvine, and this is on her BFL base. And I've cast on my Mercury socks again. I originally cast these on using the Vivid yarns, but this is definitely a pattern for a tonal or a solid yarn. Not a speckled, not a variegated. I feel like the pattern plays better on a more neutral yarn. So I really love how this yarn is working up with this pattern. I have my little Clover stitch marker from Nitty by Nature, and I'm knitting these on my Knit Pro Zings on a 1.25 millimeter. I did have these on my Knitter's Pride Royals, but I just found with the wood in the BFL is a more toothy yarn. It was just kind of grabbing the wood, and so switching these over to metal needles, it just flies now. I've made several mistakes. This is an easy lace pattern, but it's also very easy to get thrown off. So on one area, I missed one of the rows of yarn overs, and on another area, I knit too many rows of the just knit rows. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. Everyone has knit it. I'm sure you've seen it 1,000 times and are tired of seeing it, but I was very inspired to cast on for January, or for March, my March socks. Wow, we were way past January at this point. And this is my DPN Cozy from Studio in the Green. She, last time I checked, she had one of these on her Etsy shop. Studio in the Green has awesome project bags and DPN cozies, so you should check her out. This is my little Day of the Dead DPN cozy. So that is that project. Not a ton of work on that because it's one of those that I just have to kind of have the mind for. And then the last project that I've been working on is in my Maker's Haven project bag that I showed last time, but I also wanted to show, she did a pre-order for these linen bags because collecting enamel pins are so popular. And I was really tempted by those linen bags, But I didn't get one, and I reasoned with myself saying, you have half of your bag is linen. You could just put your pins on there. But I love this one that I got from Universal Studios when I went with my family back in November. And yeah, I love the placement of that too, because it looks like it's like zooming out right there, the night bus. So in this bag, I still have my stripy socks. And I mentioned last time, on the last podcast, wanting to do a knit along for the Afterthought Everything socks. Everyone is doing Afterthought heel socks right now. If that's what you want to do, that's great too. Bethany and I are going to co-host she came up with a very cute hashtag. Hashtag snip those socks, Cal. So if you're doing the Afterthought heel socks, or if you're doing the Afterthought Everything socks, the Afterthought Everything socks is a paid pattern on Ravelry, but I think it's only like $2, so you should definitely check it out. And the only reason why I don't have more progress done on these is because the needles I had it on. I actually was knitting these on high sharps. Those are too dang sharp for me, okay? Like, I'm not a fan. Even on the bigger needle sizes, they're just really sharp. And the way I knit, I'll just show you a few stitches right quick. So the way I knit is I tend to push the end of my needle like that. And I'll do a few stitches, and then I'll get to the point where I push my needle to get it to, be over like that, to move my stitches over. And with a high sharp, it is not enjoyable to be pushing on that super sharp end. And I haven't poked a hole in my finger, but I've watched quite a few people say that they've poked a hole in their finger and that they don't enjoy high sharps. I know Diane of Suburban Stitcher was just talking about like poking holes in her finger because of those needles. And so as soon as I switched these, I actually got quite a bit more progress done. I switched them at first to 9-inch circs, but I find that with 9-inch circulars, my gauge is quite a bit looser, and I'd already started these on Magic Loop, and so for my stitch count, I just was having to stick with a Magic Loop. And the yarn that I'm using is Mustache Sheep in the colorway Beetlejuice, and it's just this really cool self-striping. It's got, as you can see, black and white stripes with this kind of Oscar the Grouch green color. So it's got little shots of a browner green and a lighter green. I really am enjoying this yarn, and I have my little tooth from Knitty by Nature on there. But these are going to be for my daughter Atrella, my 11-year-old. She loves the movie Beetlejuice. And that is the progress that I have on that so far. So if you would like to join Bethany and I, and Bethany is of the Woolberry Fiber Co. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but if you haven't checked out her podcast, you should. She also dyes immaculate yarns. Like, they just blow my mind. She has a really soft hand, and if you like pastels, but like jewel tone pastels, they're really, really beautiful yarns. You know what I find really interesting? Like, on this sock, for some reason, this cake has been giving me the biggest problems, wrapping itself around my cord. I have no idea why. Maybe it's the way I'm putting it in here. I'm not sure. But that is that project. I would love it if you wanted to join the knit along. And if you are a maker of any kind and you would like to donate anything to the Box of Socks Lover Edition or to the Snip Your Socks knit along, I would love it if you wanted to donate something. If it is a physical prize and you wanted to hold on to it and just be the one to mail it to the winner, that would be amazing, because that would save me a trip to the post office. It would save us both on shipping, and yeah. Or if you wanted to donate a pattern prize, I'm always good on donations. And thank you in advance to anybody who would be willing to do that. I don't always ask because it is kind of a weird thing to ask, like, oh, hey, give me prizes. But if you wanted to, yes, please. And thank you. So that is all the knitting that I have. I haven't worked but a few rows on my fade, so I won't show you guys that. Same for my Dale socks, my Fair Isle socks. Not a lot of progress. I do have a little bit of chatter about my weekend. If you're just here for the knitting, thanks so much for joining me. If you want to hear more about what we did this weekend, the girls and I went to the North Texas Irish Festival. So the girls are Scottish. My husband is Scottish, and it is the North Texas Irish Scottish Festival, but it just says North Texas Irish Festival in the title. So they have bagpipers, they have, authentic food, they have vendors selling various things, kilts and whatnot. But so we try to go every year. We end up usually going every 2 or 3 years. But we went this weekend. It's always the first weekend of March at Fair Park in Dallas. And Fair Park is a 2-hour drive from us. So my husband couldn't go, unfortunately. He had deadlines and had to work all weekend. But he insisted that the girls and I go, which was, I really did want to go on one hand, but on the other, I'd just been sick for 4 days with a head cold. And so the last thing that I wanted to do was drive 2 hours. And I looked at the weather, and it was supposed to be crappy, rainy weather all day, and I was even less inclined to go. But he insisted that I would probably regret not going, which he was right. So I got dressed up and we went, and I actually got to wear, because of the weather, luckily, I got to wear my ease pullover that I knit in a worsted weight Rios, Malabrigo Rios yarn, again, Ravelry project page. And then I wore this shawl also. So I posted a picture to Instagram like you do, and if you care to look, there it is. But people commented, and thank you if you were one of those that commented and told me how awesome I looked. That always feels great. But it was kind of perfect, like the weather being so crappy and drizzly and rainy. It's Scottish Ireland type weather. So I told the girls that, and we took umbrellas, and they were troopers, and it really wasn't bad. A lot of the venue is in Market Hall and like some of the buildings around Fair Park. Quite a bit of it, like the food and the music and stuff, tends to take place outside. So it did drizzle here and there. Some of that we were under umbrellas, and some of that we were like under trees and stuff. The girls wanted to go over to the jump bounce house place, of course, and do that. So we did that. To make it knitting related, other than me wearing knitting, I saw a spinner. She was spinning some yarn like you do at festivals, and then had some of her knitting on display, and she was a prolific Fair Isle knitter, and I was just like mind blown, changing colors and like multiple, probably 10 colors in a sock. Yeah. And then I also saw a knitter in another booth. She was selling books from Scotland and Ireland and historical books, and she had a lot of knitting content books, pattern books, crocheting books, Knit Your Own Scotland. I thought that was really cute. I was really, really good because I wanted a book, and I didn't end up getting one because I have quite a few pattern books that I haven't knit one thing out of. But it was quite fun to chat with both the spinner and the knitter at the festival and talk to them about what I was wearing and me being a knitter, and like you do. The one disappointing thing, so the food is a big part of my fair activities. The girls too. My oldest loves turkey legs, always gets a turkey leg. My little one wants popcorn. She wants pretzels. She wants all the salty food. And I'm a big beer drinker. I love craft beer. I love Guinness. I love dark beer. So of course I had a few beers while we were walking around. And the bummer was no Scottish eggs. I went for the Scottish eggs. My husband was bummed that he couldn't go. He said, please just bring me home a Scottish egg. And I couldn't even do that because they didn't have any. If you don't know what a Scottish egg is, Google it, but I will try my best to describe it. It is a hard-boiled egg encased in sausage, like a breakfast sausage, and then wrapped or like breaded and fried. And then you just eat it. It's delicious. And they didn't have any this year, so that was kind of a bummer. The girls and I really, really enjoyed seeing all the dogs and the different dog breeds from that region. Like we saw some Scottish Terriers, of course. We saw some Irish Wolfhounds. I love those dogs. I would love to own one of those dogs. They get like 160 pounds and they're really furry. Google them if you don't know what they look like. They're awesome. We, of course, saw the sheepdogs, the traditional Scottish dogs. I love seeing all the dogs, and I always wish for a moment that I would take my dogs to more festivals. Until later in the day, I see people like having to manage their dog. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm glad that I didn't bring them. And then also the 2-hour car ride. Roger is our only dog that does okay in the car. Lucy is 95 pounds. She doesn't do good just because her size. It makes it difficult. And my car is a smaller car. And then Bo, he pants the whole time. He's like, I won't do it, but it's ridiculous. I don't like taking him places. But that is all the content that I have today. That's all my news from the Irish Festival. The girls had tons of fun. I do really hope that I can sit down with them once they get home, that this isn't too long, and that I could sit down with them and let them show some of the stuff that they've been crafting. I know that I said that I would do that last time, but we were just so busy last week, or last recording that I did, that we didn't get a chance to do that. But hopefully they can sit down, so stay tuned if they're there. If not, there might be some video of life lake stuff, like sometimes I insert. So thanks for sticking around. I hope to see you guys next time. Subscribe if you like it. And come join the Ravelry group and all the cows that are, the two cows that I have going, if you would so like to join. Bye guys, see you next time. Hi, welcome back. Thanks if you're sticking around. Here are my girls to show their crafty stuff.
I'm Atrilla, I'm 11. I'm Prince, I'm 6.
Sit down. Okay, Atrilla, do you want to go first or you want Prince to go first?
She can go first.
Okay.
Okay, this is a penguin, and I made that a few years ago. A few days ago.
Yes.
And Mimo gave me that. My Mimo did, and I sewed it together. My mom did the knots, and did some stuff. And Atrella sewed this part, and I put all the stuffing in. I started it about...
You did it in a day. So this kit was a little... Stop doing that to the table because you're moving the camera. And if you can hear the background noise, our landscaper here is here mowing, but I really wanted the girls to be able to share their crafts with you, so this is the time we had to do it. And he's here, and we're sorry if that's a really loud, annoying noise. But this kit actually came from, I want to say either Michael's or Hobby Lobby or something like that, but I'm sure you could find something similar on Amazon. It's a learn to sew kit, making a stuffed animal. So all these pieces were cut out, and I helped you thread the needle, or no, I just tied a knot in the thread, right? And then you sewed on all the eyes and the nose and the chest piece.
Yes, and the feet.
And the feet. And then your sister helped do the front part, and Mom helped do the back part, because it's a little hard to hold that and sew it at the same time. And then you stuff it. Are you so proud of it?
Yes.
And you made it all by yourself?
So cute and cuddly.
And what about you?
I made a dollhouse.
A doll's dollhouse.
You can see the little bushes, and they actually are popping out.
Bushes from craft foam.
And I used a heart whole bunch because I didn't have anything else.
And is the roof craft foam?
Yes, almost everything's craft foam.
And you added some detail. What kind of box did you use?
I can't remember. I don't think I used a...
You made a box?
Yeah.
Just from cardboard?
Yeah.
That you had laying around?
I think so.
And then everything in the box So it's a dollhouse. So you turn it around and it's a miniature dollhouse. So
A little photo and a little flower vase, and a little dog bed.
So here's the dog bed, and it's got a little yarn rope and a little pillow, a fireplace with a plant and a card on the fireplace, and a nice little bed with a blanket and a pillow. And then I love the heart door handle. And the kitchen sink, and it's got a sponge
And a little hole.
and some dishes.
That's not a sponge. That's
But
the
I love
handle.
the hole in the handle and the dishes that are sitting there. That's so realistic. And the fridge actually
Opens. With a little tape.
It has
tape on it.
My fingers are smaller.
I've got it.
Has some food in it.
See little stuff in there. Now show them the TV.
And then on the other side of the living space is a tiny little couch
A little pillow.
and I can't even, like, how did she do this? It's got a heart on the TV. So, how long did this take you to make?
Well, I stopped in the middle of it because we were like eating dinner, but I finished it in one day.
Yeah, one day. And you built all these little things and you drew details on the fridge and the cabinets.
Lovely before I put it.
Oh, before you put it all in? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
smart. You made the things and then secured them in their homes.
Yes, their homes.
It is very, very cool.
The TV is actually some stickers that one of y'all guys.
Melissa
Y'all-
from Nitty by Nature.
Y'all guys sent us. Melissa, thank you, Melissa from Nitty by Nature. Those were awesome. I also made one of these other things that goes with the house.
So she made little, pick those up, a family to go in her dollhouse out of little paper dolls.
The little one with the
So-
ponytail looks
Bo.
confused.
No. And then she used another sticker.
To make a little dog. I
To make
actually
a
made a
little
teddy bear, but I have no idea where that went.
And then what are these little bottoms?
Buttons.
Buttons.
Just gonna get
She
off
used
the couch.
buttons so they could all stand up. Here, open the palm of your hand right here. Up here.
Okay.
So they can all stand up.
Not on my finger.
Isn't that cool? I was very proud of her for those.
And you used a sticker.
She died.
And you used a sticker for the dog
Yes.
from the little sticker book.
But that's all that we have to show you. We're actually, today's Thursday, or Tuesday, March 7th. So we're going to the library. It's Taco Tuesday. So maybe after we go to the library.
If we behave.
You always behave. I have the best kids ever. They're very well behaved most of the time. When they're not jumping off of picnic tables at Garden Club and hurting themselves. That happened today. Might have happened today. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for sticking around and seeing my little crafties and what they've been working on. And I hope that y'all enjoyed it. See you next time.
Bye. Branch. It's not just a normal branch. See how artistic it looks and like how it looks like a real tree? This can actually be a Barbie tree, and I can like put another little stick right here that I find, and then glue some string, and Charlotte can do all the hot gluing, and she can hot glue the stick and some strings hanging down, and a piece of cardboard painted black for a little.
You put a lot of thought into this.
And also I can, you know that little string of leaves that we have, Mom? I can we use some of these for some leaves on top?
Maybe we can get some leaves from the craft store instead of doing that one.
we can get some leaves for the craft store and glue them on top, and probably cut some roses that's over there by the fence, and probably just like glue 3 for each branch. So yeah, that's my video of, outside artistic.